Hey folks, it's Chris with the Human Project Podcast. In this episode, we're going to explore this prevailing theme of niceness. Midwestern nice, because we're both from the Midwest. Sorry for our friends from New York. We have several references to you in this episode, just to compare and contrast for Midwesterners. But we're going to talk about, what does Jesus actually call us into? And I think it's going beyond just being nice, into kindness. So we're going to explore, what does kindness look like in community and with ourselves? So take a listen to this episode. Let us know what you think. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Chris.
How's it going?
It is really good. I'd say we're in about 75% range right there, yeah.
Really good.
74.2 if I'm going to be really precise about it.
Interesting.
How about you?
You know me, I'm either 0 or 100, and I'm at 100 right now. So yeah, doing pretty good. Nice. I always love days that we record. Yeah. It's just so much fun just talking about stuff. And I like that we can explore things, and I hope that it's helpful helping other people think through prompt exploration. It's just a lot of fun. There's this one that's been on my mind for a while, and
stuck in your craw, we might say here in Kentucky.
Y'all might say that. Yeah, we are in Kentucky right now. It's true. I'm in my home state.
Oh no.
But as we were talking through like topics that we want to discuss, this one just came like, I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet, because this is a bit of a soapbox of mine. So I'm going to try and stay calm.
Y'all been warned.
Y'all been warned. But it's this theme of nice versus kind. And I think it comes from growing up. We always heard, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Mm-hmm. But does Jesus really call us to be nice? Last time I checked, niceness is not a fruit of the Spirit.
Which translation are you reading?
Anything but the Message?
Whoa, okay.
I don't know. Maybe niceness is in there.
Punches have been thrown.
No, I like the Message. It's helpful. What's the other one? The Street Bible?
Yeah, right. It might be in the Street Bible. I wouldn't know.
But when I bring up nice versus kind, what comes to mind for you for the distinction of those two things?
Yeah, so word nerd alert, of course. Just in general, over the whole episode, because we're trying to distinguish between two words that are somewhat similar.
Yeah.
And it's the implications of them that I think are worth exploring. To me, kind is actually something that is kind to everybody involved. Say if it's between you and me, then kindness is actually kindness to you and to me both. And that's in a rich relationship type of situation that we're talking about there. Whereas nice is just kind of surfacey stuff, right? Okay. And it's usually actually self-protective in my experience. In the Midwest, we have the Midwest nice.
Oh yeah.
I've heard there's other ways of referring to it around the country, but here in the Midwest, it's Midwest nice, where we're so kind that we're not going to talk about whatever actually is important to talk about. Yeah. We're just going to tiptoe around that and pretend it doesn't exist, and maybe talk around it, or the perhaps a more extreme example even that I've seen and done myself many times. Accidentally bump into somebody, or even a trash can or whatever, and you're like, "Oops, sorry."
Ope, O-P-E.
That's an actual Midwest word.
Yeah,
O-P-E.
I'm curious if it's in the dictionary.
Sorry. Like, to what, the trash can? Like, what are you doing?
My 2-year-old's even started saying it. She'll go, "Oh, sorry."
So cute.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, I don't know, the kind of infamous New York City, like, "Hey, I'm walking here." Right? It's the opposite of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you talked about kind, you mentioned that that's in community, like that it's reciprocal. It requires two people in order to be kind. And kindness is a fruit of the Spirit. Niceness is not.
Okay.
But nice is more prevalent, and I think that's something we're accustomed to. Like, oh yeah, be nice, or play nice, or make nice with that person. That can be a disservice.
Yeah.
Especially in community.
Right.
And especially where there is conflict. If you are in community, there is conflict. Because you have two people that are different, that both have a sin nature, and that's going to show up. So in order to deal with conflict, you need to move past nice. of just burying or hiding or skidding around the surface.
I think that bears repeating again because there's a few headlines in there.
Okay.
Just to be absolutely
clear.
clear.
I had a few headlines. Very cool.
If we're in community, there will be conflict. There will be tension, conflict, using those words.
Yeah.
I mean,
and even just broader for community. So work,
yes.
marriage, parenting,
Okay.
friendships.
Relationship.
Yeah. Relationship. Yeah.
Interaction.
Yeah.
Perhaps even with ourselves if you want to get even bigger about it.
We never have conflict.
Yeah, we're perfect. But
You mean like ourselves, like as an individual
within
person?
ourselves.
Okay,
Yes,
I thought you were
that's
talking
what I
about you and me. Got it.
no, we never have conflict. I told you.
Okay, whatever you say.
So that headline, I think, first and foremost, like you're not going to escape conflict or tension. That's not actually a goal. That's not what Jesus did either. And so I think that begs the richer question then of how we kindly deal with ourselves and with other people in the midst of that tension, which I think those are some really important points from what you were saying. It's worth just like, if that's surprising to you, or if that's news to you, or if that's causing you to think, you may just want to pause the episode and, have a conversation with God about that, because that is really important foundational stuff.
Yeah.
It is our reality.
Yeah. Yeah, just acknowledging that can be really helpful.
Yeah.
I think a classic example is Sophia's 2, and Victoria told me they went to the zoo yesterday, and she was telling me a story about how this kid came up to her and just pushed her, straight up just pushed her.
Yeah.
And then Sophia did a really good job where she said, "Hey, that's not nice." Never heard her say that phrase before.
Okay.
But she said that.
Yeah.
And Victoria was like, "Oh, I have a proud mom moment." And then she turned and she went with my sister, like turned her back for half a second. She looks around and now Sophia's hitting the kid. Oh. She's like, "No, I thought we had it."
So close.
Yeah, so close. Just stop there. But I think the hey, that's not nice. Like, what does niceness look like? What does kindness look like? Boundaries is a good conversation to get into in the adult world.
Right.
Like when our boundaries are trampled, like it's one thing to just like, okay, play nice. I won't say anything.
Exactly. That would be the nice version.
Yeah. But kindness is confronting.
Yeah.
Just want to say that again. Kindness is confronting.
Right.
Because it's holding to a higher standard, holding to a better standard.
Right.
Better standard, higher standard, depending on the situation.
Yeah. I think one example we've used in class before is it nice to allow a bully to keep bullying, right? We could be nice to them. That's not actually kind to them or ourselves or the people around them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think we're so afraid to not be keepers of the peace.
Right.
And we tend to think that peace is the absence of conflict. And I think it's more, how do we deal with conflict? So when we talk kindness, what does kindness look like applied?
What does kindness look like applied?
Yeah.
Well, since we put it all in context of relationship, and again, I'm just going to say you can go back through this and consider kindness to yourself. That's a relationship also, but we're going to keep it in multi-personal, interpersonal relationship. Why did I say multi-personal?
Multi-personal.
I've never heard that.
Multi-personality conflict disorder.
Interpersonal. Let's go with the normal word. Okay.
Word nerd alert.
I wanted to sound so smart. But if we keep it in the interpersonal realm, kindness, let's say boundaries, is a good example of this. Yeah. Maintaining boundaries, clarifying boundaries, is being kind, both to ourselves and the other person. And also confronting when someone hasn't done what they said they were going to do. Those are examples of kindness to ourselves and to other people. Let's walk through one example here too that's a little different than what you had there before. But if someone has said they're going to do something and they don't do it, right? Or they do the opposite of it. Yeah. Something like that. Let's say we're in a work situation and someone says, "Oh, sure, I'll get that report to you," right? TPS report on its way, no problem. And then they don't do it. Then a nice thing would be to do it for them. Yeah. A kind thing would be to go have a conversation with them. "Hey, I noticed you said you were going to do the TPS report and you were going to have it to me today, and I don't have it. Like, what's going on? That's confrontation. Yeah. You can do that in a kind way. You don't have to go punch them upside the head and say, hey, you can give me a GPS report. I'm walking here. You know, don't have to be like that. And yet not having the conversation with them is also not kind.
I just keep thinking about how our friends in New York are going to have such a difficult time with this episode.
They're like, what's wrong with walking here?
I was walking here. But I think there's a difference between, I think we're afraid to go past nice because that's aggressive or hostile.
It could be viewed that way, yeah.
And so kindness is showing where there's a discrepancy would be I think a helpful way to put it.
That's a good example of being kind, I think.
Yeah. Like helping just see that there's a discrepancy, and then what do we do about it?
Right.
I am going to counter myself.
Okay.
Thinking about this because the Bible Project has been going through the Sermon on the Mount and talking about they started off going through the Beatitudes. Awesome series. Would highly recommend listening to it. They do a fantastic job.
Is this in place of a book reference in this episode?
It might be.
Okay. I'm just trying to check all the boxes here.
But they're talking about the Beatitudes, the blessed is, blessed are, and they're talking about the good life, which is ashrei, which I really want to do an episode on at some point in the future. And they're talking about things like turning the other cheek.
Okay.
Turning the other cheek. And it's got me thinking like, okay, what does that mean? What does that look like to be kind and yet still be willing to turn the other cheek? Or the other reference when Jesus is talking about it, if someone asks you to carry their armor for a mile, carry it for 2. There was a stipulation that the Romans had at the time that they could ask a Jew or command a Jew, force a Jew to carry their armor for them for a mile. But as soon as that mile was up, I don't know how they would track it because they didn't have pedometers back then. But as soon as that mile was up, they could set it down and go about their
There were
way.
mile markers on the road, by the way.
Oh, is that really how it was? Okay.
Yeah. So on any Roman road, they actually had stones that indicated the miles.
Okay, well, that answers that curiosity.
That doesn't help us with kind versus nice, but I just thought I'd answer that.
But I'm curious, like, how does that stuff apply for boundaries? How do we apply boundaries and discrepancies and still embody that and still be kind to ourselves? All of this is like mashed up in my brain about what does this look like applied?
Yeah. I love a little behind the scenes for those who are wondering. We haven't rehearsed this. We don't know exactly where this is going. So we're really wrestling with this while we're talking through this, which is something I love that we're doing this this way. So I don't have the answer to what you're saying. What I wonder into about it is what was Jesus's intent, of course, in him saying, you're required to carry it a mile. Go ahead and go above and beyond. There's something in that to me of service to the other person. That there's a loving service to the other person.
Love.
And there is there's something that you kind of are often required to do or need to do, and you can do more than that. Like that's loving the other person. And there's got to be a balance in there as well for us to be kind to ourselves too.
Yeah.
Where if I go like, I'm going to carry it 20 miles. That shifts something. And I think there's that balance in there that gets unbalanced. Where what's in service of the other person. And I'll go back to say something someone's committed to do. If they've said, I'm going to get you the TPS report by tomorrow, and now it's tomorrow and they haven't done it. Good service to them is to actually say, that's what you said. Is there a problem? Like, are you like, oh yeah, actually my wife just went to the hospital, or I have no idea how to do the TPS report and I was afraid to ask somebody, or you know what? No, I just don't keep my word, which usually people aren't just going to come out and say, but any of those things going on are worth exploring with the other person. And that's actually in service to them. That's all I might consider. I'm just playing with this out loud here. I might consider that being the second mile of carrying the pack for the person.
Yeah, it almost ties into a verse that we talk about in our deepening connection class of what does boundaries look like and how do we share things in community together.
Yeah.
The difference between wearing like a backpack type burden versus like a boulder type burden. How do we carry those together? Curiosity to see if that's something there, and kindness actually looks different than holding accountable.
Yeah.
I think as you were talking about that, it got me exploring like what's Jesus's intent for those. And these are guesses, but we can read in with context of what else we've seen with Jesus is it's not all about us.
Yeah.
And I think bringing in humility and then also the rest of the fruit of the Spirit. So love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. Did I get them all?
I think so.
Yes.
Very fruity.
But looking at all of those together and not just isolation, because they're all intended to be received and then to reflect. That's the goal of the fruit of the Spirit. So looking at how do they tie in together, not just an isolated piece, because it wouldn't make sense in and of itself.
Right.
So going back all the way to nice versus kind, I think our call to action with this is explore in community. Is there a curiosity there? Is there a burden that I can help with? Is there a time to help hold accountable or call out a discrepancy? It's probably a kinder way of saying it. And then what does that look like individually for myself? What does that look like in community? What does that look like in relationship in general?
Yeah. I would even add, I'd say yes and. Let's yes and that for a moment. I would say yes, absolutely. And just to give a bigger picture too, because I think we may come off as rather soft on some things because we're so relationally oriented, almost trying to correct, in my view anyway, trying to correct some over indexing on some things. But let's not leave out of the picture here that if somebody is in error, that it is also unkind to them to not be talking about that with them. Now that's not typically the first thing you'd come up and, talk about with somebody or punch them up that's the kind of the equivalent of punching them upside the head with it. And yet in a relationship, also not addressing those kinds of things is also unkind.
Yeah. It's balance. It's always balance. I think where we try and move things towards is what does good relationship look like?
Yeah.
Because like you said, there is so much habit out there of bad relationship. And so go beyond nice, move to kindness, and evaluate your motives, your intentions, and your reasons for doing it.
Yes, very heavily. I think that for me, I'll just speak for myself, not for everybody else, but for me, when I kind of retreat into niceness and avoid the kindness, it is a self-protection move for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid of, I don't know how to do well. It might hurt. The conflict or the whatever it is that I'm trying to avoid might be awkward or something of that nature. And that's self-protective move. That's not actually kind for myself either, but it certainly isn't kind to the other person involved.
Yeah. So if we were to rephrase, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. If you don't have anything kind to do, don't do anything at all. I don't know if that would apply. So
seek kindness.
There you go.
We'll flip it on its positive end there.
To be kind is human.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. It sounds so wise.
It does. And you said it. You are so wise.
Oh, shucks. So be kind. Be kind. Midwestern kind. Let's try and get that going.
Let's redefine this here. Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be a good t-shirt. Kind. Midwestern kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Add it to our t-shirt repertoire.
Nice. Yeah.
No, not nice. Kind.
Oh, sorry. Sweet.
Sweet. Thanks for exploring that, my friend.
Very good. So glad we went there.
Yeah. Thanks for checking out this episode. If you've got more ideas or topics related to this, let us know. Email us at info@humanproject.us. We'd love to hear your ideas. See you next episode. Hey folks, thanks for tuning in today. Our team is made up of myself, Chris Conlin, and Mark Wavle, and our lead editor is Derek Donley. We're a crowd-funded nonprofit. Our free resources exist because of your generous support. To learn more about us or check out classes that we talk about here, visit us at www.humanproject.us. Thanks for joining us on our mission to bring 1 million lives closer to the fullness of God's design.